right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Moore County Schools Board of Education work session on March 2nd, 2026. We're called to order at 1:30, and I want to recognize that we have our new interim superintendent, Mrs. Jenny Purvis, to lead us today. And
Thank you.
we're so excited about you being with us, and we're going to start with the agenda. So
Yes,
do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do. Unfortunately, Dr. Capps is sick today. She wanted to make it in, but couldn't. So if we could amend the agenda to move the discipline data presentation to the 9th, which is next Monday, that would be terrific. That is item number 4B.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'll formally, yeah. Go ahead, Ms. Dahl, Dr. Dahl. And I'll second Dr. Dahl.
Okay, all right. All in favor of moving the March 9th item to, the item 4B to the March 9th meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. So now, do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda? Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll move to the pledge. Mr. Johnson. Thank you. Now we'll have our moment of silence. Ms.
Yep.
Davis.
If everyone would join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we're at item 2, reports, information, and discussion, interim superintendent's preliminary proposed operating budget, fiscal year 2026-2027. I'll turn it over to Ms. Purvis.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to move over with Miss Edmonds so we may present this together.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much to everyone who has helped us work towards this budget. Thank you especially to Ms. Edmonds, who is so diligent as she works through. You know, we still do not have a state budget. There is no timeline of expected state budget. The last time this happened was 2019, so it's not unheard of, but it's certainly out of the ordinary. So we await that, but she, as you will see when we go through the presentation again, she has projected some different levels so that we can be prepared if we need to be. At this time, Ms. Edmonds, I'll let you get us started. Actually, I'm going to start us out. First of all, the vision of Moore County Schools, the first and best choice in education, with an unwavering commitment to excellence, innovation, and ensuring the development of leaders for tomorrow. The mission, Moore County Schools will graduate students with skills, knowledge, character, critical thinking, and education needed to become proud and successful Americans. Our core beliefs. We wanted to ensure that as we work on this continuation budget, that we are revisiting our core beliefs, and that this budget encompasses everything that we believe in and is supporting that. So reviewing our core beliefs, every student can learn and succeed and will be valued and supported. Our schools provide a safe, respectful, orderly, and caring environment conducive to learning. Our educators are empowered to meet the learning needs of all students as we work to create an elevated campus culture. We involve and partner with our parents and community in the education of our students. We offer a wide variety of choices, opportunities, and learning pathways. Extracurricular activities are an essential part of our students' development, and education, employment, and enlistment are equally honorable pursuits for the future of our students. When we take a look at our priorities, you can see here the board's priorities, and we also reflected on those and took a look to ensure that as we take a look at the overview of this budget, are we providing what is needed to support each of these areas? As we set up the budget, we need to remember that our county, the County of Moore's greatest asset is our education system. It's one of our greatest assets. Currently, Moore County Schools ranks 7th in grade level proficiency, and we are the county's second largest employer. That tells you the importance of not only educating our students to ensure the future of our county, but also the level of commitment that we should have because of our staff members. The local budget is an investment in the future of our county. We have 13,000 students that we hope one day will come back to our county, sit in the seats that we are as adults right now, and will continue to move us forward. Key points of our budget this year is the impact of fixed cost increases. The goal is maintaining our level of service to students while we continue to take care of all employees. This year, we are utilizing a conservative budget approach. We want to limit the local budget's impact on the use of fund balance. We want to find budget efficiencies, and we have conservatively projected revenues from our county funding formula, an estimated fixed cost increase based on historical data. Ms. Edmonds will take us through some background information and preliminary proposed budget.
This is the background information for the interim superintendent's preliminary proposed budget. This is a look at our 24-25 state versus local rank. We're looking at the state rank from 105th to 110th out of the 115 school districts in North Carolina. Moore County is ranked at 108th. Our federal rank is 84th. Our local rank is 35th. Our total rank is 95th. And our GLP rank is 7th. We are a Tier 3 county with an ADM of 12,860. The ADM does come from the DPI's statistical profile online for 24-25.
I'd just note here again, which I have each time, that 95th in total rank out of 115 districts, but 7th in GLP is a return on investment indicator right there, telling you that our folks are really doing what they can with the amount that's being invested by our taxpayers and having a good result.
If you look, oddly enough, it's right on par with Wake County schools. Bottom line, they're almost the exact same spending per student, and they're 6th place.
Correct. We always have room for improvement. We won't be happy until we're number one.
We got to leapfrog Wake County.
Now we'll take a look at our historical budget information. At our last presentation, there was some confusion about the retirement versus the hospitalization, so we tried to break it down into two different slides. So a look at the state retirement benefit cost increases from 22 compared to 26. For 2022, the rate was 22.89%, and for 2026, it's 24.67%. Retirement increased almost 8%. I have an example that in 2022, with someone with an annual salary of $30,000, a rate of 22.89%, that cost would be $6,867. In 2026, with an annual salary of $30,000, rate of 24.67%, that cost would be $7,401. If you take the 24.67% rate divided by the 22.89% rate, that comes out to 1.077. If you take the $6,867 from 2022 times 1.078, you come out with the $7,401 for 2026, and that is why I use the 8%. This is a look at our state hospitalization benefit cost increases for 2022 to 2026. For 2022, the rate, and this is the employer matching per employee, is $7,019. In 2026, it did go up to $8,500. This hospitalization increased a little over 21%, and so how this was calculated was the $8,500 divided by $7,019 is 1.21%. If you take the 2022 year of $7,019 times 1.21%, you come out with $8,500, making it the hospitalization increasing just a little over 21%. Charter school funding. For per pupil funding, our charter schools receive funding based on the number of students enrolled. For a local district support, this funding comes from the local school district where the student resides. Legal mandate General Statute 115C to 18.105C requires districts to provide the per-pupil local current expense appropriation each year.
So just a reminder that that county funding formula that we have, 38.5%, that is for public schools in Moore County, not just dedicated to Moore County schools. So out of that 38.5%, we have around $4 million, a little over $4 million, that will come out of that and go to charter schools.
This is our total County of Moore public school students. We have a total of 14,429, which is represented by the green line. In the blue bar is 12,917 for 25-26. That represents Moore County school students. 1,512 in the orange box for 2025-26 represents charter schools. This ADM is based on PMR month 2. Our charter school projected increase, we looked at fiscal years 26's estimated growth at 75 students. We looked at fiscal year 25's actual growth of 7 students, and we looked at our 5-year average growth, which was 68 students. We did go with 85 students. That is still conservative. Based on a per-pupil cost of $2,710, that would make our projected cost $230,000 increase for this year. This is our local funding formula agreement. The total for property tax and sales tax for 25-26 was $102,597,449. With the funding formula agreement from the county of 38.5%, that comes out to $39,500,018 that we received this year. If we use a 3% conservative estimate for the property tax increase, the total would be $105,675,373. With the 38.5% would be $40,685,018. This increase in revenue with a 3% increase would be $1,185,000. With a 4% increase would be $1,580,000. And then if we received a 5% increase in funding, the revenue would be $1,975,000.
I'll just remind the board that the reason we utilized that 3% increase is that when the funding formula was agreed upon, the commissioners in conversations shared that we could expect a conservative 3% each year. So that 3% is what we have projected into the budget.
Yeah, I was just gonna clarify that that increase is the 3%, 4%, 5% is what the county is bringing in, and then our percentage off of that. Just want to make sure that's clear that they're conservatively saying the county's revenues will increase by 3%.
Well, we are also guaranteed not to go backwards,
Correct.
right? And
Right.
so although their revenue may be different, they are still assuring us that we could probably expect a 3% increase.
Gotcha.
I have a question for the chair and vice chair. You guys met with the county commissioners. Did they say where they're going to come in for these figures? Did you ask in your meeting?
No, it was not the topic of conversation at that
But
time.
that's an important topic, and here's why. They control that. It's not like just, random 20 houses are built and our property taxes go up. They choose a number. They have a target number. You guys should have asked them that in their meeting.
We'll definitely take it back the next time.
I
we
mean,
see
if you ask the chair and the vice chair, they'll tell you exactly, we're going to have a 3.5% increase, and then they're going to lower the property tax rate to match the overall increase. And if you guys should have asked them that in the meeting. So we don't
I made
know
a
because
note.
we haven't asked the question.
We'll ask it.
Huh, okay, that's obvious question.
This is our projected increases for fiscal year 27. With a 2% state salary increase, the total fixed cost, and this would be projected state increases in salaries, retirement, and health insurance contribution rates, we would be looking at $745,000. With a local supplement step increase for certified staff, it would be an additional $250,000 at 2% increase. And then all other projected fixed costs with a 5% inflation rate is $388,000, and that would cover 5% on utilities, any insurance like property, vehicle accident, supplies, materials, repairs, fuel, and equipment. For our projected charter school growth, based on that 5-year average and rounded up, $230,000, making our total fixed cost $1,613,000. The revenue that we had talked about with that conservative 3% increase would be $1,185,000, less the increased expenses of $1,613,000. This would make our 26-27 shortage for our increased revenues versus expenses. Our shortage would be $428,000 with a 2% state salary increase. With a 3% increase, we would be looking at $603,000 shortage, and with a 4% increase would be $768,000 shortage.
So we'll remember that with no state budget, we can't anticipate if they will go with the 2%, or because nothing has come out for last semester, you know, the first half of the year, will they go a little higher to make up for the ground that people didn't get a raise in the first half of the year? So just, that's the reason Ms. Edmonds has put out these scenarios.
So, let's say the legislature does the right thing and they say, we're gonna start making public employees whole for the inflation over the last 4 or 5 years, and say they gave a 10% increase. We would have a $2.5 million deficit then, making up for local pay, right?
Yeah, and
Something like
so,
that?
correct. And when we take a look a little bit later at where our fund balance would start, our fund to fund balance, then that would give you an idea of how quickly we would deplete that.
This is the potential fund balance appropriation for fiscal year '27. For 25-26, our fund balance appropriated was $1,855,133. With a 2% state salary increase, the 26-27 projected shortfall would be $428,000. This would make our 26-27 projected fund balance appropriation $2,283,133. With a 3% state salary increase, our projected fund balance appropriation would be $2,458,133. And with a 4% state salary increase, our 26-27 projected fund balance appropriation would be $2,623,133. And this is our projected local fund balance for fiscal year '27. Fund balance as of June 30th, 2025 was $4,651,054. Our assigned fund balance for inventories and stabilization was $310,746. Our assigned fund balance for fiscal year '25-26 this year is $1,855,133. So our unassigned fund balance for '25-26 is $2,485,175. Projected fund balance for June 30th, 2026 is $4,829,090. Our projected fund balance appropriation for '26-27 with a 2% increase is $2,283,133, making our projected unassigned fund balance for '26-27 $2,545,957. With a 3% increase, our projected unassigned fund balance would be $2,370,957. And with a 4% increase, our projected unassigned fund balance for '26-27 would be $2,205,957. Just a note, June 2026's fund balance is a projection. It's not actual. And then if we were to continue to utilize fund balance at the rate we did in '24-25, which was almost $700,000, all scenarios, 2% through 4%, would result in our fund balance falling below the $2 million floor.
I just wanted to make a couple notes there, I guess. So, a couple bottom lines, I guess, would be safe to say that we have more fund balance on our books right now because there weren't raises passed. And so no local impacts based on no raises happening this year. So that it appears to be an inflated number where in actuality it's smart to hold on to that because we don't know what the state's going to do. And they may, like you say, come back bigger. And so we need to be prepared for that. Yeah.
Right.
And they should. Yeah.
Which is why, as we discussed, we need to be very mindful about creating efficiencies where we can and not expanding the budget, trying to ensure we have a conservative budget, only doing and utilizing monies that we have to maintain services.
Yeah, and that speaks to like how we have, you know, if we continue on this path without something different happening in the future, it's going to get worse and worse. And so we had talked about the local positions being so important because that comes, you know, directly out of our county funds. And we had talked about those 612 specialist teachers being paid for by the state, which they are currently not paid for by the state, and that being an area that we might be able to advocate for. I think we have that legislation advocacy and work with our commissioners on that. But that would be one easy way to fill this hole each year because the state is putting us in this position.
Yes,
Yeah.
the encore positions. And I think, Dr. Calcutt, remind me, I think the last 2x2 we had, you and Chairman Perserno talked about a joint resolution of our board and their board to advocate for those positions, if not being returned in whole, to be a process of each year funding a few, which is how they took them out, right? So if they could add us back in a few of those each year, that would help, and it would immediately get us out of the hole.
Right. And then we could actually have conversations around retention, recruitment, stipends, you know, doing better for our employees locally. We got to get out of the hole first, then we can
Yeah.
have that bigger conversation. So,
Thank you for
Yep.
bringing that up.
All right, so as we go into the preliminary proposed budget, let's take a look at this preliminary proposal. We remember it is a continuation budget. So in other words, we are taking what we had, we're starting there. We just want to maintain our level. So when we take a look at what we've done to ensure that, we have fixed costs associated with the projected state increases. Again, note that this is at 2%. It could go higher, but at this point in time, we're looking at 2% retirement costs, 1% health insurance contribution rates, or retirement at 1%, and then health insurance at $500 per person. That's $745,000. A local step increase, and that's what Mr. Johnson is alluding to. You know, all of those locally paid positions are part of this step increase. So if we were to get some help on those encore positions we just talked about, that would decrease this number as well. For teachers, AP, and principal, that's $250,000. All non-payroll fixed costs, 5% inflation projected onto that. Charter growth, based on a 5-year average, is an additional $230,000. So that's an increase this year in our fixed costs of $1,613,000 over last year. When we take a look at our county funding formula and we project a 3% conservative estimate, again, that's $1,185,000, which means we have more increase than we have the increased revenue coming in, providing a $428,000 shortfall. That current year, our 25-26 fund balance appropriation is $1,855,133. And again, estimated fund balance appropriation for the 26-27 year would sit with the 2% at $2,283,133. Just reviewing again quickly what Tina shared with us in terms of the fund balance. This is that same slide, but it rings true that we've got to remain steady in terms of efficiencies and a conservative budget, because we can see that with that $685,404, that if we continue to spend at that rate, we will fall below that $2 million floor, and that is not something we know our board wants to do.
This is our projected county allotment by fund type for the 26-27 year. Our local current operations is $36,482,018. Charter school operations, $4,203,000. Our local Fund 2 total is $40,685,018. Capital expense, Fund 4 is $800,000. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Fund 8, which goes into PRC 69, is for $50,000. making our total county allotment $41,535,018. Our 26-27 interim superintendent's proposed local revenue Fund 2 for 26-27. Our local current operations, $36,482,018. Charter school operations, $4,203,000. Our projected county allotment for Fund 2 is $40,685,018. Fines and forfeitures is at $450,000. Our interest is $150,000, and our local fund balance assignment is $2,283,133. This makes our proposed Fund 2 budget $43,568,151. This is the interim superintendent's preliminary proposed 26-27 Moore County Schools budget for the total for all funds. So for Fund 1, state, our proposed budget's $102,425,037. Fund 2, local expense, $43,568,151. Fund 3 for federal is $11,095,952. Fund 4 for capital expense is $1 million. Fund 5 for school nutrition is $6,383,000. Fund 8 restricted revenue is at $3,242,000, making our projected 26-27 budget $167,714,140. Just a note, Funds 4, 5, and 8 do not include carryover. That fund balance appropriation will come whenever I bring the original budget resolution to you in October, hopefully October.
I'm sorry, which funds do not include carryover?
The ones with the asterisk, Funds 4, 5, and 8.
So 6.3 million doesn't include carryover from this year?
For the
Or
school
for the school nutrition?
No, that does not.
That's a lot of desserts. I mean, I don't know what to say. We need to serve better food or something. That's a lot of extra money in there. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the budget. I thought
That's
that
the
was,
budget.
yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, so when we take a look at the budget summary, we're just reminding everyone that we want to make sure it reflects our vision, mission, core belief. We're trying to take care of our people in order to accomplish our mission. We want to maintain current operations while we're working at the highest level of service effectively and efficiently. Again, this is an investment in the future community and the vibrancy of the economy. It is a conservative budget approach to limit the local budget's impact through budget efficiencies, conservatively projecting revenues with a formula, and estimating fixed costs. As we get more information, we will certainly refine these numbers before they come back to you for final approval. If we do get information, we're hoping we get something. Again, a thank you to everyone who allocated their time and effort. If we take a look at the next slide, we can see our budget committee members. A big thank you to Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hensley, Dr. Calcutt, Ms. Edmonds. We appreciate all your input into our budget. When we think about our next steps, tomorrow the web portal will open for interim superintendent's proposed budget survey. So that will open tomorrow. That will allow the public to provide feedback and comments on the budget. We will be reminding folks the regular board business meeting is March 9th. We invite public comments on the interim superintendent's preliminary proposed budget. So this is a time that public can come in person and comment, but also we will have that web portal open until March 17th. That's when the portal will close. After that portal closes, we will compile all the data that is entered into that web portal so that we can share that with you in board 2x2 meetings so that you may take a look at requests and feedback from the public to see if there's anything that we want to discuss, adjust, etc. Those haven't been scheduled. I don't think, Cindy, no, so we need to work on that and make sure we get those scheduled so you guys can have a firsthand look at that feedback as soon as we get it together. April 14th will be the work session where we'll present a revised budget or a budget with any revisions that might happen. The Budget Board Committee, we're looking for a date to review the proposed budget to get that endorsed by the board committee prior to moving forward. And then the board regular business meeting on April 20th. We hope that you will adopt the interim superintendent's budget as the Moore County Board of Education budget. And then on May 5th, we will present that to the Board of Commissioners. May 19th, the county manager will share the recommended budget presentation. June 2nd, there will be a budget hearing of the county commissioners. There's a tentative date to be determined for the county commissioners to adopt the 26-27 budget. And then by October, we hope there'll be a final approval of the school budget, which would authorize state, federal, and local funds with the appropriate budget resolution. So those are the next steps. Just a reminder again, that portal will open tomorrow. Mr. Batchelor will be putting that out on all of our social media, all of our websites, to make sure that folks see that and have a chance. It will also go out on our call to families. So we appreciate that, Mr. Batchelor. Discussion and questions.
Okay.
I have two questions. If you could go back one slide, please, sir. So what I didn't see on here was the state budget being passed. So if the state doesn't pass a budget, are we going to pass a budget, or can we pass a budget, or is it in abeyance until the state passes a budget?
We really want to expand on that.
So, if the state was to pass a budget, that would be for the 25-26 school year. We already have an original budget
Yeah.
here with Moore County Schools. What I
Okay.
would do is have to bring it back to you with all those increases.
Adjustments.
And then we would have to amend the original budget. We'll see amendments on that, but it would change. We never usually change that fund balance appropriation, but it would have to change that fund balance appropriation because I did lower it based off of what we had estimated, and then we did not get any raises.
Yeah, okay, all right. So that affects current year, not future year. Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that 1.8 could go up. Yeah.
Right, yeah, understand. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I had one thing to clarify. If you could go back to slide 10, I was a little confused on one thing. This is new information. So that annual cost, was that built off the same sample employee of the $30,000 employee from the previous slide, or was this?
So this,
An
it's
average.
two different things.
Okay.
So with the retirement, it's based off of salary. So it is a percentage, and that was why I had to do an example, so
okay.
you could see, we could put it dollar to dollar.
Gotcha.
This is employer matching, and this is per person.
Per
It's
person.
$8,500 per person.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The other thing, if you could go back to a couple slides to, I'm sorry, yeah, that one right there. Just a couple notes on this one. This is something I know I've told you I'm passionate about. I'm going to try and, in April, on the 14th, go into a little bit more detail on some of the research I've done as far as the tier system and the impact and the context, and also our state and regional kind of comparisons. I just want to underline how phenomenal this is in many ways. With that state funding rank, especially of 108th, that's the bulk majority of our funds comes from the state. And so that is a huge mountain to climb to get to that 7th ranking in GLP and also all the other great things we do in the district. I think it's just incredibly impressive, but it's also a little bit of a warning bell sign, just because, you know, asking people to do more with less year over year is a difficult ask on people. It strains people. So it's going to come back on that. And then I wanted to just note how David had said about Wake County schools. That is similar, but our counties are really different as far as density of student population. And so like in Wake County, Durham County, Iredell, Statesville, Charlotte, Meck, really all these other counties are more densely populated than us, which helps them to put their teachers and do a more efficient job of their teacher distribution, which really has a big impact on their budget. So they're kind of got an economy of scale that we don't have because we're so spread out. So anyway, that's all I had on that one. But thank you for all the information, and thank you, Charlie, for putting it out there too.
I have one very minor question. I wanted to thank you for the clarity and detail on this. But it had to do with projected step increases. Can you comment on step increases versus turnover? You know, I mean, do we really anticipate that we're going to have a general movement up a step, or does turnover result in us having people roughly distributed the same on the salary scale from year to year? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, so remember our step increase, when you're thinking about that, are you referring to the local step increase? Or you're talking about the state 2% raise? Because there's a difference. That local step increase is where we move up on the pay scale. And so folks who come in, you know, they may start at 0, but we may also get a teacher with 15 years of experience or a TA with 15 years of experience, and that's where they start on that step scale. So that can vary from year to year based on the staff that's here. So just because we lose 10 people doesn't mean that the 10 who are going to replace them would be at that same step. They could be lower, they could be higher, if that makes sense. But we, for local employees, are responsible for that step increase.
So it sounds like you're saying we can't really project whether the distribution of local employees as a whole will go up, go down, or stay the same, but we're planning for everybody to move up one step.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all the hard work. And those slides were really good about retirement and hospitalization, Ms. Edmonds. So thank you for that. All right, we're at item 3, pending action and discussion, and we've got item A, approval of the 2027-28 Moore County Schools calendar and the revision of the 2026-2027 calendar. Turn it over to Ms. Brooks.
All right, thank you. We have Ms. Sinan with us today, who's going to present the approval of the calendar. She'll share that with us, and this does come with my recommendation for the next meeting.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Back in October of 2025, Moore County Schools created a committee to propose calendar options for the 27-28 school year. We try to do it 2 years out so that parents can plan and families can plan. The committee included parents, school administration, certified school staff, classified school staff, and district staff. The calendar committee was given approval by the Board of Education to place the proposed 27-28 calendar on the Moore County Schools website for public comment and feedback from January 13th through January 30th, 2026. We had a total of 243 respondents. Within those respondents, we had parents, students, teachers, other staff members, community members, and then I've included all other categories because we did have some folks that gave us a category. It said other, and so we just combined those together. You'll see there that most of the respondents were parents, at 66%. So I've included the total responses from each one of those categories as well as the percentage of those respondents. As I go through this next piece of information, just as a reminder, the percentages are based on those 243 respondents, not our entire community as a whole or our entire system as a whole. It's based off of those 243. So what we did was we put the calendar on the survey and just asked for feedback. So you'll see in your packet of information, it's the raw data from what people shared for that survey. Approximately 40% of the respondents of the 243 that responded requested ending the semester prior to winter break for students to complete exams and align with Sandhills Community College. Same respondents also requested the school year to end prior to the Memorial Day holiday. Again, we didn't create that calendar because that calendar doesn't follow the calendar law. So that's why we don't have that there. Approximately 7% of respondents requested for spring break to align with the Easter holiday. If you remember, the calendar that we have for 27-28 does not align to Easter. We do have some days off within that Easter holiday for our families. However, spring break is more aligned to the middle of the semester and then also aligned with Sandhills Community College. Suggestions were made to rearrange various teacher workdays. So some staff or some parents looked at workdays and said, well, it would be great if this workday was here, or vice versa. So you'll see that in the information as well. Approximately 2% of respondents requested a full week off during the week of Thanksgiving. We did take, I mean, it was only 2% of those respondents, but we did talk about it within our calendar committee. And what we decided was, looking at other school district calendars that did that, what we found was they don't have as many banked instructional days as we do. We have about 37 banked instructional hours. So if there's a snow day, if there is a power outage, if there's a hurricane, we have those banked days, so we're not having to take spring break away, because if we use all those days, that'll be what happens. But the committee decided not to do that because of those banked instructional days. The November 2nd required workday was mentioned with a request to move it to November 1st. So I wanted to share with you as the Board of Education, but also so the public can hear this, the reason why we have November 2nd as a required workday. I know it's a Tuesday. I know it's in the middle of the week. It is not ideal, but the reason we do that is because it's election day, and we have some schools that are polling sites. So we use that day as a required workday for parent-teacher conferences. Because we have so many community members in and out of the school, we want to make sure that we don't have students on campus at those schools as well. So based on the above suggestions, the calendar committee made the following changes to the proposed calendar. We added an optional teacher workday to the calendar on January 4th, 2028. So as teachers and students come back from Christmas break or that winter break, there is that workday there for staff members prior to students coming back. The proposed calendar follows the North Carolina General Statute 115C-84.2 and follows the instructional hour guideline of 1,025 hours. So when you develop a calendar, you can look at it based on the certain number of student days that you have, but also hours. Moore County Schools historically follows the hour guideline. This gives us 31 banked instructional hours because we did turn that January 4th into a workday. I've included in there the traditional calendar per the North Carolina calendar law so that you can see those items there. We also have to make sure that we have 215 staff days within that calendar. So that's the 27-28 calendar. If anybody has any questions about that one, I'd be happy to answer those, and then I'll go on to the next ask. The next ask is about the 26-27 calendar, which is our calendar for next year. There's a slight change that we'd like to make with that. Yep. Nope.
Couple things. The calendar law, which punishes the education of every student in North Carolina who attends public schools, because it only affects traditional public schools. There is one man in this entire state responsible for that, and he is likely to lose his primary. And if he loses his primary, that calendar law is going to go away, like maybe as soon as the next short session. I would suggest that we hold off on this. I mean, we'll know, I guess, tomorrow. But if Berger loses his primary, then think about that. That 40% who responded wanting to, the semester to end before there's all kinds of good reasons for that I've said till I was blue in the face over the years. But they weren't prompted for that. 40% of the respondents just spontaneously said that. That's remarkable. So I think we should be prepared if Berger loses his primary. I think we should be prepared to, maybe put together a different calendar. Fingers crossed. The other thing I would say is, so the packet that we have, does it have, we have categories of respondents. The packet that we have, does it have the survey results broken down by the categories of respondents? So we could... Or is it just one big mass of respondents?
It's one big mass of respondents. It does say within there the role within Moore County Schools. So it has that role listed there. And then it just has their comments. So the actual breakdown is in the executive summary, but you can see that in the raw data.
And I have one other comment. And I think I speak for most of Moore County when I say this. these remote work days instead of snow days are a fraud, and everybody in Moore County realizes that it's a fraud. I mean, basically, it's send kids home with homework, and they're home for 3 days, and we're going to count that as if they were sitting at school. That didn't exist pre-COVID, and we all know remote learning was a disaster. The issue is parents, and when I first heard remote learning, I thought that there'd be a teacher there with 27 students on his or her screen and conducting class, and it's not. And parents are up in arms on this. I'm surprised people haven't commented. In fact, I want to add this as a discussion item to the next work session. But here's where it shows up. So we're supposed to be serious about our children's education. That's our number one priority. But every year we bank 31 instructional hours, which is what, 5 instructional days? Mm-hmm. We waste a week of education, if I understand that right, because we might have a snow day. Well, guess what? We don't have snow days anymore because we call them remote learning days. So it's very disingenuous for us. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 7 members of this school board are educators, yet we vote to bank 31 precious instructional hours that will never be a snow day, will never be a hurricane day. So I think the school board needs to do one of 2 things. We either call snow days, and we use those bank things, or we do away with our banked hours, because what ends up happening, right? We'll end this year with what, 3 so far remote days? 4 maybe?
We've used 5 remote days this year.
So we have 5 remote days where, I mean, let's be honest, students didn't learn anything. And if you say the students learned something at home with homework, then let's just close down all our schools and just send homework to the students because they don't need to be in class, right? So we need to do away with these bank days, and we need to do away with these remote learning days, and we need to say every hour of instruction is precious. We're not going to bank anything. We're going to count every single hour, and if there's a snow day, then we're going to make it up on a Saturday. That does 2 things. One is it 100% shows our focus on education. Think about a week of class that never happens because we say we're going to bank it. Right. The other thing it does is it teaches children responsibility. It teaches students cause and effect. Look, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If there's a snow day, you're going to make it up. So we need to have, and not just us, this is all of a sudden out of COVID, there's no more snow day. It's just like a week of instruction that never happens, right? We need to have a discussion on this, and we need to add it to the next work session, because the people were up in arms over these remote days because everyone knows there's 0 learning going on. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, there's some families that, do whatever. There's exceptions to every rule. But we as a school board need to have an honest discussion about this, and we need to explain to the people why we just throw away a week of instruction every year. Where am I wrong on this?
Madam Chair.
We're banking days that we're never going to make up, that never need to make up.
Yeah, Dr. Dahl?
I'd like to respond to a couple of things. But first of all, I think it would be good to get some clarity on just exactly what banked days are, because I'm wondering if what my colleague is assuming is the same as what Ms. Sinan meant to explain.
Chair Calcutt, if you're good, I'll put
Yes,
some
ma'am.
clarity on that.
Please
So
do.
when we think about banked hours, that means we are going extra minutes every school day. We could cut the school day shorter every single day, but we have extended the school day. So if we don't use those banked hours, that means kids have gone to school 31 hours over what was required. Yeah.
Yep.
So those banked hours that's us being proactive and saying, let's go a little bit extra, so that if we have a day that we need to take off, we've already been to school extra amount of hours, if that makes sense.
Yep. No, I looked at that backwards. I understood that backwards. Thank you for the education. But my point about remote learning still stands. I don't care if we have banked hours or not. It's all, the more we can teach, the better.
I have another question for Ms. Sinan.
Sure.
I think my colleague's suggestion that we might want to try to be agile in the event that it becomes legal to have a calendar that, would align with community college and job applications in the spring and all those other good things. Can you just give us an idea of some of the steps that we would have to go through so we can have a vision of, if we did suddenly want to put forward a revised calendar?
That would really be up to the board what the process would be of how you wanted to follow that. We would have a calendar drafted, and then, that would be the early start calendar, whatever would be required by law. I mean, if this law goes away, is there another? It depends on what happens. We would go ahead and create that calendar. Our departments would create that calendar, and then as a board, you guys would decide, do you want to get feedback on that calendar? Do you want to go ahead and approve it? Do you want changes made to it? Things like that. So whatever that process is that the board wanted to do would be up to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The good thing is that historically, we've worked a year ahead. And so that's a positive for us, because that gives us a little cushion of, hey, we can get this together and we can make that change. And as you're seeing, she's getting ready to tell you of a little change that we'd like to make to next year's calendar. So as long as we're prepared with a draft, it would not be hard to switch gears.
Yeah, and increasingly, it's not serving me correct, but apparently, this might be the first year. For 2 or 3 years in a row, we did both calendars, a conforming and non-conforming. This, I think this is, oddly enough, this might be the first year that we didn't do both. It might be the second year, but we did both side by side previously and presented them both.
That's what I was gonna, I lost count of which years are we prepared for this coming school years with a draft?
We did not put that out there for response from the public, because again, we'd be asking them something that we know they'd like, we know we'd like, but is not a possibility according to law right now. So we didn't put that on our survey, but it is certainly something that we can create a draft, and that's pretty quick to do. In fact, I think Ms. Sinan and Ms. Fall have already taken a look at what will that look like and have that ready in the chute.
We have, yep.
Yep, I knew
Good.
that.
Thank you for
And you
being
could probably
prepared.
even incorporate some of these suggestions as far as teacher work days versus PD days and so forth.
Yep.
And I'll just say I'd love to see that too. I would love to see that alternative calendar, and it'd be good to have that in the chute and ready to go, because it's, it's past time to make it happen, in my opinion. I'll say for the remote days, I will say that I was really hoping as a parent to have that first big snow day just off, And I think, and honestly, just to have it as a family, to have just one day off that we know we could tell our families, go out and enjoy it. I just think that's a win for everyone. I think it's good PR for the district. It shows, that we're appreciative of that time. I will also say that there is work being done on the remote learning. At least in my house there was. I know it's hard to get something like that consistently done throughout the district, but I know even my senior in high school was doing work, and it's actually kind of excited to do work for Miss Cobbs. I'll give her a shout out, ELA, out at Pinecrest High School. So there was definitely work being done. Is it consistent and has high impact to sitting in the room? Probably not, but there's still a lot of work being done on those days.
Yeah, and let me just say this. You're fortunate enough where, when the school's off, at least your wife's off. You may or may not be off or working from home, but there's lots of parents who don't. The private sector worked, So anyway, I think we should save that conversation for another day. Obviously, I stand corrected on the bank days, but it's responsibility. If we have bank days, then use it. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Thank you, Ms. Sinan. I think we're
welcome.
ready for the next ask.
Okay, the next piece is, in addition, we had some feedback provided by our Academics and Student Support Services team, Teacher Advisory Council, and Principal Advisory Council. So we would like to ask for approval for a change to this upcoming calendar, the 26-27 calendar. In order for us to be able to provide district-wide professional development without interference with open houses and things like that, we wanted to change the August 21st, 2026 optional workday to a required workday. to allow for that professional development. And then the very last day on the calendar, June 15th, 2027, was an option, or was a required day. We want to change that to an optional work day. So there's still work days, just one would be, we're just flip-flopping the required versus optional.
When we take a look at flipping this, we have some things that we'd like to make sure our teachers have in terms of professional development at the beginning of the school year. So we feel like that required workday would be better served at the beginning. So this is just trading the beginning and the end.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Simon.
you.
All right, we're at item B, endorsement of the More Innovative High School 2026, 27, and 27, 28 school calendars. Ms. Purvis.
Yes, we are pleased to say that More Innovative High School has been rolling along, and they are already getting applications for next year, so that's exciting. So we want to let Ms. Sonnen and Ms. Phillips take it away in terms of their calendar for next year.
Good afternoon. As a cooperative innovative high school, More Innovative has the flexibility to align their calendar to Sandhills Community College. For the 26-27 school year, More Innovative begins their school year on August 6th, and they'll conclude it on May 20th, 2027. For the 27-28 school year, they will begin on August 5th, 2027, and conclude on May 19th, 2028. The proposed calendar follows the hour guideline, and it has 1,040 instructional hours with 15 banked instructional hours. That's the 15 above the 1,025 required instructional hours. Both calendars are brought forward for endorsement, so More Innovative High School is aligned to the calendar development for the district's traditional schools.
So although this calendar is different because it has flexibility, we are trying to stay ahead and make sure that we approve a calendar for them as we approve calendars for the traditional schools. Are there questions? Sure.
So, I'm still trying to get my head around these Fridays. ER stands for early release,
Yes, sir.
and what time is early release?
So the early release day is a 4-hour instructional day.
So noon, 1 o'clock,
Yes,
something like
sir.
that? And what is the faculty and what does our team do on early release days when the students go home?
So what they do is they go through the PLC process. It's a time for them to collaborate at a very high level because there are only 4 teachers there at More Innovative High School. They don't have time to collaborate during the instructional day. So this time is devoted to data analysis for them to design their pack time, which is their intervention time, and their repack time. They run 2 interventions at More Innovative. So they run one that's solely based upon data from the teachers, and then one that's based upon student feedback.
And what's the rationale of having the early release on a Friday instead of, say, a Wednesday or a Tuesday? Well, what's the rationale of having an early release anyway?
So essentially, these students will eventually go forward and have internships during that time on their Fridays. So once we get through 2 classes of students at More Innovative, and we get into the junior and senior classes, they will have internships during that time or work-based hours.
So, a couple things. One is, there's no internships for freshmen and sophomores, yet they're doing the early release every Friday, right? Even
Yes,
though
sir.
there's no internships. And having run a business here in the Sandhills a long time, a lot of companies don't work on Fridays or shut down early. It seems like a weird time to have an internship on a Friday afternoon when a lot of companies don't work or kind of call it quits or whatnot. It seems like maybe that should be moved to a Wednesday or something. I'm not asking for a decision. I just,
Yeah.
like I said, I've tried to put my head around that for a long, we're doing early release for students that it doesn't apply to for 2 years, right? So secondly, it's just Friday's an odd time to, do internships with private companies who shut down, maybe, I don't know.
And I know we currently have, it's not many, but we have a handful of students who are working now, so they do go on and leave More Innovative High School on Fridays and go to work. So we do have some taking advantage of that now, and that number will increase as we move forward.
Thank you. But other than that, so how do they, so if they have early release on Saturday, you know, how does that compare to Pinecrest? How do they make up the hours as opposed to, do they go longer Monday through Thursday, or?
They have, it kind of goes back to the conversation we just had. They have less banked instructional hours. So if we were to have multiple true snow days, as you were speaking about earlier, then they have less hours to take advantage of that. So then they would be forced into making up that instructional time.
So they are going a bit longer, but not as long as the other traditional schools. So they are banking 15 hours. In terms of the PLTs, I think the thing we've got to remember is that at the traditional high schools, what principals try to do is create it so that blocks of teachers who teach common subjects or teachers who need to collaborate in PLTs have the same planning period. Unfortunately, with the small number of teachers at More Innovative, you can't do that because kids have to be somewhere. So each teacher has an individual planning block they're planning with themselves. Especially because we're trying to give these students, these small number of students, really close individual attention and monitor them to ensure that we get them where they need to be, knowing where they started. That PLT process is valuable. And so just ensuring that that happens, whether it's a Friday or whether in the future it becomes a different day, I think that's certainly something that, Ms. Saccone and her team can take a look at as they're taking a look at internships around the district. Where would those happen? What days would, employers prefer that to be? That's certainly something that could be fluid. But I do think that that half day in the afternoon is a valuable time that allows us to maximize what those teachers are doing when they are in the classroom.
Now, just a observation as I think about that, I was trying to think, can you do a flexible situation where, juniors and seniors might have a different early release than the others, but you really can't do that because of PLTs and number of.
Yeah, the small number
Yeah.
of teachers,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And they're,
Interesting.
they're in honors level classes, and they're 4 different subjects of teachers. So bringing all of that data is a heavy lift, and they, I'm glad that they have this time because they're, they're doing great work, and they're completing a whole year in one semester, right? So
They
there
are
is that
of their core
too.
classes, yep.
All right, thank you, ladies.
All right, yes, thank you very much. We're at item C, restart school calendar flexibility request for 2026-27. Ms. Purvis.
Turn my mic on. As you know, our restart calendars also have some flexibility here. So Dr. Stewart and Ms. Phillips are going to be sharing our East and our Southern Middle proposed calendars.
So for East Middle and Southern Middle School for the 26-27 school year, we're requesting the school day to be extended by 15 minutes per day in order to bank hours for the proposed flexible calendar schedule. This will provide 43 hours of additional instructional time. This flexibility has allowed for a concentrated time with a smaller group of students. Parents, students, and teachers have all responded that this individual attention has been beneficial and positively impacted the students both academically but also in maintaining a strong connection with students who benefit from an increased level of attention. Breakfast and lunch are provided to the students with an option of pickup meals for our students who are not on campus that day. You can see in the rest of the summary the proposed dates for East Middle School and the proposed dates for Southern Middle School.
I think this is great that they have extra time to work with students. So I think this is a no-brainer.
So the overall takeaway here is we're building in 43 additional hours so that we have the ability to, on these dates that you see here, pull small groups of students to focus on those who have a high need. Any other questions? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much. We're to out-of-state field trips, item D.
And as we shared earlier, Dr. Molly Capps is out today, so Ms. Sinan will share our field trips. We have had a couple added, so Ms. Sinan, take that away.
Okay. We have 4 field trips to bring before you today, 2 from Union Pines and then 2 from Pinecrest High School. The first one is the Union Pines JROTC has requested to attend the 2026 Southwest Regional Area. I do know how to read. 2026 Southwest Regional Aerial Drone Competition in Huntsville, Alabama, on April 16th to the 19th. So cadets will compete in the regional level drone competition where students can pilot and program drones. The other field trip for Union Pines High School is their wind ensemble. They've been selected to attend the 2027 President's Cup High School Concert Band Invitational in Washington, D.C. on April 14th through April 17th. The President's Cup provides unparalleled music instruction by the world-class musicians of the United States military premier bands, including the United States Army Band, Persians. Did I say that right? Thank you. They're also going to experience instruction by sectionals, small ensemble performance clinics, special performances by the military musicians, and a full clinic for each group. So that's Union Pines, those 2 for Union Pines. Pinecrest Speech and Debate Team, they have 2 field trips that they are requesting. One is the National Catholic Forensic League Grand National Tournament in Washington, D.C. They've received a special invitation for this on May 22nd through May 25th. They're also going to tour the Smithsonian Museum for American History and participate in a service project at Arlington National Cemetery. And then the last one with the Pinecrest Speech and Debate Team, they will participate in the 101st National Speech and Debate Association National Tournament in Richmond, Virginia, which they've qualified for on June 14th to June 20th. They will also visit some museums while they're there as well. You're welcome.
That's impressive. No question. Any questions?
I just want to comment that I just think it's so wonderful that our schools have these programs and offer kids these opportunities. That speech and debate team is something else, and I'm very glad they're getting to have those opportunities. And my kids were both in the UP Wind Ensemble. I have limited experience flying drones. I think Steve supervised me once. But great for our ROTC kids to get to go to that as well. So, this is just so exciting.
Thank you, Dr. Dahl. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Stein.
you.
All right, we're at E, RFP for legal services. Ms. Purvis.
All right, so I will let Dr. Calcutt, she recommended this. I'll share this, or you can share this, Ms.
I'm gonna let you
Dr.
share.
Calcutt.
I'll let
All
you
right,
share.
so I will share. Chair Calcutt is recommending that we put out an RFP for legal services. The agreement for legal services with Schwartz is set to expire June 30th, 2026. While contracts for legal services are not required to be bid under North Carolina law, soliciting proposals is best practice. Since contracts for legal services are not required to be bid in the first place, the board may at any point modify the RFP process, request additional information from some or all bidders, reject proposals for any reason, solicit new proposals, and/or negotiate directly with one or more law firms or individual attorneys who may be interested in serving as a staff attorney for Moore County Schools. Should the board elect to hire an individual attorney as general counsel, this would be in lieu of a law firm. There is no requirement to select the lowest responsible bidder, as is the case with some construction contracts, or to use a purely qualification-based selection process in which fees are not considered. So in other words, we do have the ability to negotiate what those fees look like, what that structure looks like, and are not required to just base it on qualifications. The RFP would be posted on March 10th, the day after board approval. This will not commit the board to any final course of action or restrict the board's ability to modify that RFP, request additional information from some or all bidders, solicit proposals from particular firms, reject or request modifications to specific proposals, or negotiate with particular bidders at any point in the process. Although this process is not required, it is best practice to ensure that the board has the ability to review all options and select what best meets their needs and expectations. Swartz Law is certainly welcome to submit a proposal for consideration during this process. The RFP for legal services will be posted on March 10th and will remain active until April 1st, with all proposals due by 2 p.m. on April 15th. The new contract would begin July 1, 2026, and we have attached the suggested RFP. First of all, Charlie, if you just pull that up quickly, I would note that in this RFP, when you go through, you will see that it is inviting firms, educational law firms, as well as individual attorneys with educational law background. When we think about that, there are districts around the state who have their own counsel. I asked Ms. Edmonds to reach out to a neighboring district who had their own counsel to see what that price looked like. They have many more schools than we do, so they have an attorney, 2 paralegals, an administrative assistant. And their total for the year fell about $550,000. So when we are thinking about what that might look like for us, with the number of schools that we have, we would expect that we could do an attorney, and a paralegal could be paralegal / administrative assistant. So this would look like 2 positions should we want to go in that direction. Again, we will certainly have proposals from both firms as well as individuals, and there's nothing that says the board has to go in either direction. It is not required, but just as any contract that we have, it's just best practice to make sure the board is getting the value that they want, and to take a look at other options. Charlie, if you would, Mr. Batchelor, also pull up the 8-year review of legal fees. So we just put together an analysis of our legal fees. So if you look across the board from 17, 18 to 24, 25, and then in 25, 26, this is estimated for 25, 26, based on what we anticipate from now on. Something large should pop up. It could be more, but we've gone from 21, 22, ending with $351,487 to an anticipated cost of $661,527 this year. You know, it could be the board chooses Swartz again, but because we have increased our legal fees substantially, I think it's important that the board take a look and just revisit the process and make a selection before we renew again. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Purvis.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe Levy will apply. I've heard he's available.
Any other comments?
Ms. Purvis, I do have one question, please. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
What fund is used to pay those expenses?
So this is going to be a combination of funds. So we'd have to have Tina pull if we wanted to know for sure exactly where it's all coming. I'd need to get that report from Tina, because some of this is charged to EC, specific, particular areas. And so I'd hate to give you one answer, because the truth is it comes from multiple areas.
Okay, that's sufficient. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. We'll move on to item F, Pinehurst Drainage Pond Repair. Thank you, Ms. Purvis.
As you may remember, we've had some issues and some complaints in the past with the Pinehurst Drainage Pond out front. Dr. Patterson will share the work that's been done on it to date, but at this point in time, we are looking at a permanent fix. The pond that was created there at Pinehurst Elementary has not functioned since I've gotten here in the way in which it should, and we are looking for a permanent fix to that pond. Dr. Patterson?
Okay, as Ms. Purvis said, during the construction of Pinehurst Elementary School, a natural containment pond for stormwater was constructed. After a couple years went past, the pond began to fill up as the bottom sealed, and the drainage paths became obstructed with soil, reducing proper water flow, which resulted in overflow spilling into neighboring yards and roadways. Following complaints of overflow as well as frogs and mosquitoes, Caused by standing water, Moore County Schools cleaned out the pond bed and restored the natural drainage paths, but this provided only temporary results. Later on, a drainage pipe and pump were also installed to divert water away from the containment pond. However, the space currently used for the pumping overflow is planned to be used by the Village of Pinehurst for a library, and we are now in need of a more permanent fix. To provide a permanent solution, Moore County Schools worked with the North Carolina Department of Transportation to secure a right-of-way agreement allowing installation of a drainage pipe from the school property along Dundee Road, tying into the existing drainage system at Highway 211. Chisholm Electrical Contractors Incorporated will complete the project. The total cost includes materials, labor, and utility location services. During the March 9th, 2026 regular business meeting, the interim superintendent will recommend the board consider a motion to approve the contract for Chisholm Electrical Contractors Incorporated of West End, North Carolina, in the amount of $57,000. And you also have the attachments of the contract, the agreement with North Carolina Department of Transportation, as well as the proposal from Chisholm Electrical Incorporated.
All right, any questions, any comments? Ms. Purvis or?
How did we compete this out?
How did we bid this out?
Yes.
Because it was not of the money, the dollar amount that's required, we went with the person who has been helping us with this and the person who works with DOT frequently. Mr. Chisholm is local as well. And so had this been a price that was exorbitant or out of the ordinary, we would have certainly gone again. But he has worked with us on this and has worked with DOT to ensure that we're getting what we need in terms of size of pipe, putting it in, et cetera. We also worked with SCM, who is our plumbing guy, who also does this type of work, just to guide and understand that this is what we need and no more than we need, but that it will solve the problem.
That's a pretty big distance. I'm sitting there thinking, how far is that drainage pond
It's
around to 211? It's a half mile.
It's
isn't it?
1,700 feet.
Yeah, it's a third of a mile. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's,
Well, I was thinking that was a pretty good price for that
It
distance.
is.
and-
Mr. Chisholm does a lot of work for us, and so does SCM, and so, which is why we leaned on them in the first place.
All right.
I'm
oh,
sitting
so
here, I understand about the mosquitoes, but I've always thought frogs were kind of cool. Do people not like the noise, or?
It was the noise, that's
I think they're
correct.
afraid if it continues, it's going to be biblical. You know, we'll have fire coming.
Well, I was
from the
wondering
sky
about
here
that,
before
too.
long.
Just don't get rid of the frogs without the mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's right.
And also, I guess, right, it just occurred to me, timing on this, would this be a summer project? Would this be?
No, I'll let you share, Dr. Patterson.
It's to begin the first part of April.
So this shouldn't take long. They've outlined it. It's already been engineered, and we've coordinated with the Village of Pinehurst as well.
All right, thank you very much. We're at item G, nomination to the 2026 North Carolina School Board Association Legislative Committee. And since I brought this to our board for consideration, the Board of Directors is inviting each local school board to nominate one of its members to serve on the NCSBA's Legislative Committee. The primary task is to develop a draft 2027-28 legislative agenda or top priorities for consideration and adoption at the Delegate Assembly at November's annual conference. So these are at-large, nominees. They're trying to pick one from each district. We're in District 4. And then the president of NCSBA will select the at-large member. So the nominee needs to make sure that they can attend the following 3 meetings, July 20th, 2026, September 14th, 2026, and October 7th, 2026. And the applications are due by March 27th, 2026. So do we have any nominations for this position?
Who's on our legislative committee?
Ms. Bruno, Ms. Davis, and myself. So,
I would like to would like to nominate Robin Calgood, please.
any other nominations? Right. All right, hearing none. Do we need a motion? Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion? Okay,
Yeah,
do we have a second?
I make a motion to nominate Robin Calcutt for the 2026 North Carolina School Board Association Legislative Committee.
As an applicant, yeah,
I'll second the motion.
okay. All in
Do
favor,
we
say aye.
do we discuss it?
Okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
So, one of the responsibilities of the board is to make sure that people who represent Moore County Schools in an official capacity represent the policies of Moore County Schools. And this range is not just this. It's like somewhere we have representatives to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, and I have no idea who they are, how they vote, what they tell the North Carolina High School Athletic, 5 years ago when the North Carolina High School Athletic Association was saying, yeah, we need transgenders on our sports teams. I don't know how our people voted or anything. So it's important that whoever represents us in official capacity represent our views. So, I assume you're
I
gonna
will
do-
represent our views, and this
As
is
the
just
board,
an
right?
application. They may not pick me.
Right, no, I
So,
understand that.
yeah.
I just want to stress it's important that, and look, that's outside of what you personally, may or may not lobby
No,
for, but it's important.
will affirm that I will
Yeah, okay,
represent Moore
awesome.
County Schools
Good,
and our
thank you.
beliefs and policies.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Given all your other responsibilities, are you comfortable taking this on too? And it
Yes.
sounds like you are, but I'd
Yep.
like it if you'd say something about that.
I am happy to do this. I've been to 2 conferences since I've been on the board. I actually sat with Miss Davis when she was in the delegates assembly, and it's really fascinating. But this is the group that comes together just to decide the top priorities and to create the survey that will go out to all board members across the state as what we feel are the legislative top priorities at the state level. And so there's 8 districts in North Carolina. We're number 4, and they're going to have applications, and then the president will choose who's on that committee. And it's the board of directors and then the at-large votes, which I'm willing to sit on, and I've checked my calendar, and I'm free for those dates. So I'm willing to serve.
Well, best of luck, and I wish you nothing but the best in representing us. And if you get a chance to pull them aside and get a word about local funding and positions, that's all the better.
I think that's important. So we have a motion on the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your confidence in me. So we are now at item H, the school board meeting agenda for March 9th. And as you know, as we prepare, unless there are 3 board members that want to move an item to action items, all of these items will move to the consent agenda. So I would like to go through each one. Ms. Purvis, keep me straight, make sure if we moved anything. So the first one is the approval of the 2027-28 Moore County Schools calendar and the revision of the 26-27 calendar. Consent or board action?
Action.
Okay,
I would say action too.
so that's 2. Okay, all right. Item B, endorsement of the More Innovative High School 2026-27 and 27-28 school calendars. Consent or board action? Okay, I got 1. 2. Okay, board action. All right. All right. Item C, restart school calendar flexibility request for 2026-27. Consent? Okay. Item D, out-of-state field trips, consent. RFP for legal services, consent.
Action.
Okay.
That's
That was
just
2.
Yeah, do we have
I have
another
anything else?
action?
Okay. All right. Item F, Pinehurst Drainage Pond Repair, consent. Nomination to the 2026 Legislative Committee, consent. Okay. All right, let's take a 10-minute recess, please. We'll come back about 5 after 3. All right, thank you very much. We're back in session. We're at item 4, reports, information, and discussion. Item A, teaching and learning update, Eureka Math. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you so much. You know, this year we began a 3-year pilot with the Eureka Math curriculum, and today we have Donna Gephardt and Ms. Sonnen here to give us an overview of that implementation. Take it away, ladies.
All right, I'll turn it over to Ms. Gebhardt. We all learn something new every time Ms. Gebhardt's here, so.
So we are super excited to present to you today some of the highlights of our Eureka Math pilot. We're super excited to share all of the things that we've done to support this pilot and to ensure that our teachers and students are moving forward with the program. I will just start with a little brief history. In 2023-2024 school year, we actually did one module with a couple of schools. So Aberdeen, Cameron, McDeeds Creek, Robbins, Sandhills Farm Life, and Vass did just one module study. We did that in January through March, just to sort of see what the teachers thought about it, to give them some pre-exposure to, how does this program work? What's it working with our students? Then in 24-25, we expanded that for Aberdeen, Cameron, Robbins, Sandhills Farm Life. They did 3 through 5. The Vass did 2 through 5, and Westmore did grade 5 only. So we gave them opportunities based on the teachers and the teachers' experiences with that pre-pilot. Over in January, February of 2025, we sent out a survey because by that point in time, we had people going to see school visits. Our middle school was deeply rooted in. So we actually, in 2025, sent out a survey and let folks opt in to have opportunities for the Eureka Math. Because you guys know I'm very much, I don't do unto you. I want you to be invested in it because that's when we get the most bang for our buck. So these are the schools this year that are in a full the first of a 3-year pilot that Ms. Purvis mentioned. Our middle schools had a little bit of a different journey. So in 2023 of October, our middle school principals were here for a leadership meeting, and at that point, they had lots of concerns over the math instruction and the lack of trained math teachers. So they came to me with an idea that they wanted a math curriculum. So in 2023, we very quickly, in October with them, we got Eureka on board. They had their actual first training, the teachers did, on November 3rd of 2023. Then last year, and of course, they continued to pilot this, and then those schools are also in a 6-8 pilot with Eureka Math. And we're very excited with some of the great materials and things that are coming out, just the conversations that our teachers are having. But as you know, to make sure that any program's working, it is about the supports. So we have a great relationship with Great Minds, which is where we get our Eureka Math. You will see there we have student workbooks. So there are actually 6 modules that the students work through. From Module 1, they're in write-in books. They actually have manipulatives kits that go with these. There's fluency practices, there's explicit teaching. The teacher book is very explicit. It absolutely tells you this would be a great time for a turn-in talk for students. Here's your problem to put up. Have students analyze this with a partner and have conversation about how what part of this question is correct or not correct. So we have a lot of support there. We have K-8 math frameworks that are very consistent. So the program for K-8 now is a fluency practice, and y'all know how important fluency is. Our kids need to practice those quick math facts and those quick math understandings. If we move immediately from the fluency to a launch, fluency is about 10 minutes, a launch is about 5 minutes, but a launch sets us up with some thinking for the kids. just in a class the other day, the launch actually was an art picture where they were looking at angles and triangles and so forth, and the kids had to try to identify all the different types of angles in that art picture, and then it primed them for the learn part of their lesson. So we moved from launch to learn, and that's where actually the problem solving is going on. We were in a math class today. I watched some first graders dealing with measurement, and they were measuring with cubes and then predicting if the rabbit was 14 cubes, if the carrot is 4 less, how many centimeters is the carrot. So there's a lot of problem solving that comes in with exactly what we're aligned to. This is a skill-based program, which is what I'm most excited about. So even in 28-29, when we have a new curriculum, we're hoping that this would be something we would be able to continue with. The one, we get an equip piece with this, which allows us to look at assessments and reports on specific skills. And it actually, the report is so valuable. If I am a 4th grader, but I'm missing a 3rd grade skill, it will spiral back and say, you need to work on this with this student. So it's a great opportunity to support our learners and our teachers. Math Catalyst is our intervention aligned with Eureka Math. These are Tier 2, Tier 3, or supplemental and intensive intervention opportunities that are paper, pencil. The teacher has all the stuff. She prints it from Math Catalyst, and then I can pull my group over that need these extra opportunities to work and problem solve. And then most importantly, like any curriculum, we want to make sure it aligns to the Moore County Way, which is that collaborative opportunities, making sure that there are opportunities for kids to engage in the content and have those collaborations. So all of those are pieces of that curriculum that come together, and we have right there well scripted for our teachers. But like all good teachers, there's autonomy. I can choose in the problem set of the learn, I'm going to do 2, 4, and 7 with group A, but my group B, I might need to do 1, 2, 4, and 3, 3 and 4. So this does allow autonomy for our teachers to really meet the needs of their learners. So that's the overview of the curriculum. We know we have to support our teachers in this endeavor. So we have ongoing module support training. So let me explain what that looks like. We have Title II funds that we actually have set aside to hire to have subs come in so that our teachers can get trained in the module studies. This ongoing module study, we started in August, so before teachers came back on calendar, we had the first day, and then throughout the school year, they will, by the end of this month, they will have completed 3 module studies. So like, I'm going to use a 3rd grade example. They come in for module study 1 and 2. They did that in August. Then over in October, they did 3 and 4. So we're trying to prep them ahead of time, and we're trying to make sure they're ready. And then in February, we did 5 and 6. There are a couple key things that we are really hitting with those module studies. But before I get there, I want to say kudos to a couple of our amazing, amazing teachers. So Brandy Allred, who is our specialist, works closely with some teachers because, we're trying to build capacity within our teachers and model classrooms. So our kindergarten facilitator is Catherine Sessoms. Our 1st grade facilitator is Tiffany Kramer. Our 2nd grade facilitator is an Aberdeen Elementary teacher, Diana Rowland. Our 3rd grade facilitator is Brandy Allred. Our 4th grade facilitator is Stephanie Buffalo from Aberdeen Elementary. And then our 5th grade facilitator is Hillary Minier. So Brandy works closely with them to develop very specific things that go on in these module studies. The first thing we look at is what are the standards that we are covering, and we unpack those standards. We go into deep details about understanding the standards and making sure we're aware of what needs to go on in that. Then the facilitator will model a lesson that we know is going to be a challenging experience for our teachers. It might be a concept that our teachers need support in, or it might be areas where we know there's challenging material for students and we need to do some error analysis and problem solving. So they actually model as if the teachers are the students. They move through that, and then they look at assessments and how we need to assess these standards. And then from there, we look at collaborative planning that give them the opportunity with this specialist, this person, this facilitator in the room, to get support with that module study. So that is one great way that we've really supported. This is the one thing principals has said, please don't stop, because our teachers really depend on that. And it is by choice. Not every teacher chooses to come. They sign up. If I'm struggling, the principal may say, Donna, you know what, you have to go to this module study. But they are really getting a lot out of those, and the teachers absolutely love them. We do support MPLTs, so we are MPLTs, and we are making sure that in those professional learning teams, we are, again, focusing on implementing this curriculum and making sure we're going through and having conversations, which typically there's 2 to 3 fluency opportunities. We only want them doing one, so we're having that conversation in PLTs, which is the best fluency to help kids, or what is a need of the students based on the data. We have administrative support, so we have done 3 administrative trainings this year, 2 with APs, 1 with our principals, on what should a good math class look like just in general, but making sure that it's the Moore County way and from the Eureka standpoint. We are getting and receiving Eureka coaching, so we do have opportunities that we are constantly, when we find we're struggling with something, we have a Eureka coach who absolutely sits down and works with us at the district level. But more importantly, a couple of our schools have that coach who then goes in, they walk the building. They also are present in PLTs. And then, of course, we are developing strongly model classrooms across the district, so that if I have a teacher who really needs to see, or I'm going to mention 2 of our principals, we went to visit Kim Coe at New Century and watched her classroom teachers teach a Eureka lesson. But then we went over to Sandhills Farm Life with those 2 principals so they could see a model classroom with Eureka as well. So getting out and really having those conversations to support our professional learning of all stakeholders. The other piece that's a huge piece of our support is the IST, we call it, but it is the implementation support tool. There are 3 categories that when we go out and walk, and it is typically the 2 specialists, myself or Dr. Burris, we will go out and we walk with the principal and AP. Today it was a principal and AP. So we look at the core implementation. Those main categories, are we implementing those well? If a teacher has those really strong in the capacity, then we look at instructional habits. And then if those are all good, we can look at the adaptation of the lesson to make sure we're meeting the needs of the students. The IST walks, actually, we go in and we model how to do a lesson study. So the first thing we do before we ever step out of the conference room is we look at the lesson that we're going to be observing. We look at the fluency to it, the launch, the lesson, and the land. And when we go in, we are looking at leveraging appraise. What did we see that was absolutely awesome? And we're looking for a push. Where might that person need extra support? What might be something that we really want to leverage to make sure the implementation is solid? So great, like today, the theme at the school we walked today was talk about cognitive release to students. The teachers were really great with wait time and allowing those kids a productive struggle. It was just an amazing walk. So that IST walk we're getting to all of the schools is so important to help us know what we need to do to continue to support this. The module studies are there again. That is part of the fidelity of implementation as well. When we have the teachers come in, we are really trying to make sure that they understand the components of Eureka and the turn and talks and why that's important. And then the health checks are done with the Great Minds coach. They are looking at, are we really, truly, are there supports we need in addition to, are there things we need to think about? So they're really looking at the fidelity of our core instructional program and how we are implementing Eureka. These are some voices from the field, and these are my most favorite opportunities to listen to teachers and principals and folks talk about this. I'll let you read this one. This is an elementary teacher at Sandhills Farm Life. Her name is Hillary Meunier. She is one of our model classrooms. She is absolutely amazing. I want to leverage for you a couple things she pointed out. The intentionally sequence to build on one another. which means my fifth graders aren't just learning isolated skills. They're making those connections. And I love her last line, because this is such a Hillary thing. This creates a true sense of curiosity and mastery of mathematical concepts. Watching her class, there's nothing that makes me any happier than just, I could sit in her class every day for the rest of my life. She is that much of that craft of really developing those true mathematicians. This is another voice from the field. This is a fourth grade teacher, Miss Stephanie Buffalo at Aberdeen Elementary. And you can see she has pointed out that I love her comment where it says, I have learned new strategies, models, and skills. And I love that because our teachers are learning. I've become a better math teacher. Here's an already amazing math teacher who is incredibly strong, who is absolutely just a master at her fourth grade Eureka class. I also love to see that students are discussing, connecting to prior learning, reasoning through strategies, determining the best approaches to solve a problem and apply skills. You may hear, Jamie may do a bonds model, I might do an array model, and then we compare and contrast how we each got the answer. So it's about the thinking and the processes, but kids are truly at the heart of that. And I love her final is, they are truly learning. So kids are really, really learning with this. This is from our Principal of the Year, Miss Kim Coe. Kim has talked about the rigor and consistency that it has brought in her building, but overall the continuity. So even if she, which she did this year, lost a teacher in October, there was continuity because we had a program in place that they could pick up and continue to work with. However, I love Kim's last piece right there is, as a result, student achievement has increased, with performance measures growing by 12% since Eureka was implemented school-wide. Kim is very data-driven, and I will tell you what really excites me. We know iReady has a close correlation to, they've got a projected proficiency, and we know we've got a strategic plan goal of moving from 61.4 our math to 71.4. I will tell you, just based on a projected preliminary middle of the year assessment, that if our kids meet their iReady stretch growth, we are on our way to achieving that strategic plan goal. That's it. Clicking away. Be glad to answer any questions.
Donna, first of all, I'm really happy to see it grow by 12%, because if you remember when you installed this, I was very iffy about the amount of reading that went into it. Do you see any problems with the reading?
I don't. What I do see is there's a lot of support in scaffolds.
Okay.
So there's a lot of support. Like, for example, the first grade class we were in today, the teacher actually modeled the reading of the problem, and then the kids did choral reading, but the kids did the math work. She didn't assist in helping them. We do know that the EOG and EOCs in math now are read aloud. So it's about making sure we are consistently exposing them, but we're not hearing anything about the problem solving or the reading for kids.
Reading, okay. All right, the other question I have is, you said that they do measuring with cubes. Why don't they do measuring with a ruler?
They do. They do that too, but today's lesson, they were using the little cube blocks of 10
Okay.
and adding on to. So it was a very tactile kinesthetic, so it was more of appropriate for a first grade class to get used to that before we actually then move to a specific ruler where they're having to manipulate. So it's trying to build their foundational of how we measure things. The standard is about using different tools to measure. So today it happened to be the cubes that we observed.
Okay, but the rulers are included.
The rulers are there. That might be down the fun one that just drives, bless the teachers' hearts, or when we get the tape, the
tape,
long,
yeah.
you know, those that we always tie around our waist and run from.
Okay.
When they get those out, the kids they'll stretch from here to up there where Miss Purvis is, and they have a
that's
blast
fun.
with those. So yes, there are lots of different ways, but again, the standard was how to use different things to measure.
Okay. I had another one, but I can't. Yeah. This is a different topic than this, but is the state putting out new history standards?
History's coming up, so we've now got our new ELA standards. Then in they will be implemented into our classrooms 27, 28.
Oh, okay.
The state is currently working on new math standards, what will be implemented in 28, 29. And then right on the heels of that, so next school year, they will probably start on the social studies because that will be a 29-30 implementation.
Okay, all right.
I did that right.
What was the other? Oh, you only mentioned centimeters. Are they teaching centimeters,
They're
inches?
teaching all of it.
All of it.
They're teaching
Okay.
all of it. Today's lesson, again, I just gave
You
you
were
a
talking about
snapshot of what I
today's
saw
lesson.
today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just want to say, I see so much that I love here. First of all, making it voluntary for teachers so that they choose to opt in. They have ownership. They feel safe to try to grow professionally. They don't feel it's imposed on them. To me, that's huge. And I think you're going to get a lot more out of the teachers that way. But there's also so much I see in the program that I think is just amazing. Starting on slide 4, the curriculum, I love that you have the fluency practice. So anybody who doesn't know this yet, I teach high school and I get a lot of kids who struggle with math, and I'm trying to teach them remedial math and not really understanding where the holes are. And I actually taught them measurement with cubes. I taught my physical science students measurements with cubes the other day. But imagining getting some students who had been through this program, I love that you have the fluency practice, the math facts. So many kids come through and they've had electronics, they've had calculators. They don't have any number sense because they don't know those math facts. They just have it makes everything kind of remotely abstract for them so that they can't really access meaning in it. They need that fluency in the math facts. So I love that you incorporate that as a daily routine, and it's short. It doesn't overwhelm them. I love that you're incorporating, collaboration and problem solving and so forth. They're not just sitting there pretending to be passive recipients, which we know students aren't in any way. They're curious. They want to mess with stuff. And I love that it's got the assessments and reports, because I have always felt, we tried to do data analysis in various places I've been, and some of the stuff created by SchoolNet I thought was just not good items, and some of the stuff we created ourselves, I felt like we don't really know that we're testing what we want to test. And if these are good assessments, then you're going to get a whole lot better data and a whole lot better feedback as to what you need to do. So I love it in so many ways. So my question is this, and the support sounds exciting. Down the road, if we keep using this, and there's some teacher turnover and some new people coming in, are you going to be continuing to have that high-level support from Eureka so that the new people don't just kind of have to learn it from the old people and it gets diluted?
And that's why we're trying to get model classrooms. We will always have a partnership with Eureka. I don't know necessarily that we'll have the coaches coming in, but that's always something that if we really see we've got folks struggling, we can. But I do think those module studies, principals are like, nope, you've got to keep those. And that's why we're building those model classrooms, so that when we do get those new folks in, we can say, hey, let's go visit with a appropriate a principal or AP going to observe with them, so they know what they need to be looking for. And that's why those model classrooms are so important. But we will continue the module studies. That's something that I definitely think with our new teachers. And we're even looking at starting in August for beginning teachers. They will have a day where they come to learn all about the Eureka platform. So as Ms. Purvis mentioned earlier, that day of the 21st of August, now hopefully going to be a required work day, that could be a day that would be where our math specialists and these other folks spend really working and training up our folks to get ready to implement Eureka so that they can start off with a successful year.
I'm so glad you share this with us. I think, I'm catching on to your excitement.
It's a great program.
Any other comments?
Well, it's just, oh, okay. Want to echo what Amy said. A lot of really good things in here. I really appreciate the information. I like the PD model. I like the sustainability. I think model classrooms is always a good way to go. I love the continuity aspect of it because I think that's just so important for math.
Yes, it
To have a continuity across teachers and PLCs, and when you lose someone and someone coming in, that's just such a huge piece of it. And then I really liked, with the reports, I really like, and make sure I'm describing this
Okay.
correctly, that they generate reports that show the gaps, and then it shows strategies that are hands-on strategies for those students to catch up on those gaps.
If I need something below grade level, let's say I'm a fourth grader and need something in second and third grade, the Math Catalyst will have me opportunities that you can print the worksheet and bring me back to a small group, and it'll tell me like, you need cubes, or you need this, or you need
Gotcha.
this to help out.
And that was my question about Math Catalyst. I was
Yeah.
making sure that was
Yep,
like
that's exactly what it is.
that kind of hands-on type of stuff. Great.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing, and really appreciate it. And I'm glad to hear all the rock stars that you mentioned. Those teachers are
Yes.
really good teachers.
They are
good
amazing.
leaders.
The manipulatives are a plus too.
Yes,
The kids need those.
they do.
Ms. Bruno, did you have something else?
Oh, you said that the EOGs, all the math is read to them now?
Has the capability of being read aloud to math and science, so they
To
have.
everybody? I don't understand how that works.
It's within the NC Test platform, and kids can have it read to them.
Okay, you read me a problem and I'm doing it, and then I need it repeated?
You just click a button, little speaker button.
Okay.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
speaker button.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's on the
I thought
computer.
one person was standing
No.
there reading to everybody. Oh, okay.
No, it's computerized.
And what's the thinking behind that?
You'd have to ask DPI.
Is it because kids can't read?
I would offer that it's a math test, and so trying to get to the math concepts and the understanding of the math. That was a complaint I've heard
Yeah.
from teachers for many years, is that kids might do bad on the math test because it's also a reading test at the same time, and so, which is fine, but we also have reading tests for reading too. So
Okay.
Ms. Davis, do you want to say something?
I went and visited Southern Pines Elementary the other day, and they were doing a lesson with an analog clock. So for all those who think that we don't teach how to read analog, we teach it, but they don't use it afterwards. We teach it, but it is taught, and it was really fun and exciting. But I think this would be the last time probably that you present to the board, and I wanted to thank you for your service and your time to Moore County Schools. And I know that Ms. Burris would do a great job, but you did a great job
Dr.
for us.
Burris will be phenomenal.
She will. Well, she learned from the best, so we thank you very much.
I just want to say you didn't miss a beat with this program. The curriculum and all of the resources, the professional development is top of the line. The model classroom, I think, is the icing on the cake. And then making sure that it's implemented to fidelity is just outstanding, because then we know that it's working and how it's working and where we need to get better. But I just thank you again, Ms. Gephardt. You've been an amazing addition to Moore County Schools, and we're going to miss you, and we wish you the very best. Thank you for all you did. Mr. Hensley.
I got a few questions.
Okay.
Just some of this is just, I don't understand. So the Eureka coaches, I assume those are internal staff team members that are super users, so to speak?
Most are, except we do have one coach that comes from Eureka. It was part of our contract with them to have coaching days to a couple schools. So Aberdeen was a school we chose to have a coach, and McDeed, since this is their second year of implementing K-5, to add that support. Just she comes in and she'll walk the building with the administrators in the building, so they really get an idea of what, with Miss Sovey being new and Sean being in that elementary world where he has not been in a while.
right.
So they walk those classrooms, and then they absolutely support MPLTs.
Okay, that goes to my next question, was the cost of training, but I think you just answered that. It was included in our
It was
contract,
included in
and
the
there's some
contract.
sort of training. Okay, I thought I heard you mention that if a teacher needs training, that, you know, it's scheduled and a substitute teacher comes in and handles his or her classroom while they go do the training. That seems disruptive. If we're going to pay for a substitute teacher, why wouldn't we just pay the teacher extra and have them do it after work hours or before work hours or something, rather than have it's always probably not good to have a substitute in the classroom.
And we always, we have to weigh that with, we want to make sure the longevity of this program. So if we tried to do this in an evening, you would be bringing teachers in from 3:30 till 8 or 9. This is not something that you can do in just an hour here, or we would have definitely done that. We really weighed the option for our students of the longevity of ensuring the quality curriculum delivery to those teachers.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand the importance of training. I'm just suggesting you could take the money you're paying a substitute, and rather than have a disruptive substitute teacher, not that that's, just having a substitute's disruptive, and just do it. I mean, it may not be feasible. It just seems.
We
like
are
we're
hopeful that now we've got more folks that are the facilitators, that we would be able to use one of our required work days. Now, right now, we would use them, and that would be the day that everybody would come and get their module studies.
So
But that is a vision down the road.
So the other thing, and this is by far the most important comment I'm going to make, is, when I saw the topic, I was, we started pilot schools in 23, 24, and we were happy, and then we did more in 24, 25, and now we're doing even more this year. I was kind of expecting to see, talking about data-driven decisions, I was kind of expecting to see, here's the improvement we saw in our pilot schools in 2023, 24. Here's the progress, like metrics, like charts. All we saw, and it wasn't even empirical evidence or empirical data. I mean, we keep saying we're data-driven, but all we saw was one principal saying, oh, I had a 12% increase. But where's I assume we've seen progress.
We definitely have.
If so, have you presented that progress in the actual statistics, or do you plan on doing that, or have we seen that before? And
You guys saw it when Kate did her, you didn't have the schools up there that were Eureka schools, but when Kate did her thing in October, thank you, with the data, you would see the schools of where New Century was in 23, 24 and where they were in 24, 25. They took a very significant jump. So we could, what you would have to look at is, here are the schools that are Eureka, and we can definitely.
And if it's voluntary, if I understood Ms. Dahl correctly, it's voluntary for teachers, right? So an entire school doesn't do it. So, I mean, before we all start cheerleading and saying, woo-rah, this is great, it would be nice to see the data behind it.
It is a full school implementation. So when I say it's voluntary for teachers, what the principals did, we didn't go to a principal and say, you have to do this program. The principal worked with his or her staff and said, let's talk about the pilot, let's talk about what we're getting, let's talk about, and are we willing to change our practices and move into a new program?
So the entire school opted in.
The full school will opt in.
Yeah, and that was, by the way, that was what I recommended for school uniforms, is get a school to buy in or a PTO, and then, we'll talk to them, but don't try to cram it down someone's throat. I would just like to see the data behind this broken out. I mean, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Hensley, and thank you, Ms. Gephardt, Ms. Simon, thank you very much. Enjoy your retirement. We are at item B, but remember we moved that to the March 9th meeting, and so we're at item C, capital updates. Ms. Purvis.
Yes, ma'am. So we have Dr. Patterson here today just to give us some quick updates on the capital projects we have going on. We have quite a lot of things on our plate right now, capital-wise. So as long as we have updates, we'll be including this at each meeting. Dr. Patterson?
Okay. We're going to start with, I have 4 updates. Start with the new Carthage Elementary School. On February 17th, we met with Pinnacle at Carthage Elementary School on site. After walking the property, the architect expressed strong confidence that a new school could be constructed on site while students remain in session. Although we are still early in the planning process, Pinnacle is committed to moving expeditiously expeditiously. I keep saying Expedia.com every time I say that word, sorry. It's that commercial. Expeditious. Yes, expeditiously without compromising the integrity or the quality of the project. So that's for the new Carthage Elementary.
I'll just add there that we know we can put a school on that spot. What we are having the architects take a look at is what buildings would have to be removed for us to be able to place a school on that spot, and how many modular units would have to come in. So what would that look like? And the goal is to limit the number of modular units that we'll have to put on that campus. As many kids as we can keep in the original buildings while we have it going on is the goal. We are working with Bliss Taylor right now to take a look at the potential of bringing lunches over from another cafeteria, because that would allow us to take down that building, which would allow us to then keep some classroom buildings in the back. So they're looking at a site plan right now in a couple different configurations. But they felt confident that, of course, that it can happen, but that we may not have to bring in as many mobile units as we think.
It would be nice to see a notional site plan sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Because so far, we've just rogered up to like moving hands and this, you know what I'm saying? Just a visual of kind of, here's what we're thinking.
Now, originally in construction committee, and this has been, it seems like forever ago, it's probably been 3 years ago, but originally in construction committee, we did have a site plan that showed, and we also shared this at that 2024 meeting at Carthage Elementary, the board that had the site plan at the back with the two-story school. What that required, though, was taking out some classroom buildings. So we've got them kind of taking a look at what's the best way to utilize this site, and then thinking about the best way for queuing in the front. So what they're going to come back with is what they think is the optimal site plan for utilization of the land that's there, and they're working on that now.
The other thing I would add, and it's been a long time since I've looked at the site, but there's adjoining land that's owned by the town of Carthage, right? So I would not, you know, if there's a plan that makes sense, right? Like this is a no-brainer, but we got to use a little bit of this Carthage land, you know, and I'm not saying that there is, but I would not rule that out. If there's a much better course of action that encroaches upon their land, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, we need 20 feet or we need 80 feet or something. So yeah.
So I think we'll take what they come back with us, take a look at that, and then go from there. Sorry,
Okay.
Ms. Dr. Patterson.
All right, the second update is on the IT building. Retson is currently developing a site plan for the acreage at New Century Middle School. The Department of Transportation has reviewed the site, and they have let us know that building a dedicated drive that's unattached to the New Century entrance should be no issue. We anticipate having additional information available for the upcoming business meeting.
Yep, so we have, it may not be the actual site plan, but some additional information. They're actively working on that right now.
Okay, third update is on the new high school. On February 18th, we met with the Institute for Transportation Research and Education, which is ITRI, regarding the proposed high school associated with the 2028 bond referendum. ITRI will deliver a comprehensive integrated planning for school and community plan by spring of 2027. The timeline provides the district with a full year to ensure the community is thoroughly informed prior to placing the proposal on the 2028 bond referendum ballot. All right. All right, and number
just
4,
had a
I'm sorry.
Question on that.
Yeah, I'm puzzled by that timeline. Is that
Well-
what you were going to ask?
Well, go ahead. Do yours and see if that's mine.
If we get the report in spring of 2027, and the deadline for the bond is going to be early 2028,
So when we think about we will have the information to go on the bond. When we think about this comprehensive information, remember they were going to be kind of working backwards when we were trying to hurry it up and get it on this bond. So what they have suggested now is that we work in the vein that they would have worked to get a comprehensive approach. So instead of working backwards and trying to locate sites first, They're gonna work from the municipalities to the growth plan, to the county land plan, looking at all of those things, and then the sites. It is highly likely that we have it way before then, but we'll have the information we need for bond. We'll have that from them as well as from our architects. But this would just be locking down specifics, like in terms of neighborhoods, roads, once we select a site. So it could be that we say, hey, here are several areas we bring to the board from ITRI. Here are several areas that they feel would be great sites. Here's what it would look like if we put it here in terms of total school makeup across the 3 schools. Here's what it would look like here. We wouldn't be able to determine the neighborhoods and the roads until the board determines this is the area that we feel like we're gonna go with, and this is the reason why. That's why it may take them a little longer to draw out and do that. However, by the time we ask the commissioners to put it on the bond, we'd have that information. By the time the voters vote, we would also be able to know, maybe not specific roads, but the general area. How far would this go? Will the lines run how many miles north to south, east to west? We know that these neighborhoods would be included. So pieces of this information will come to us, and based on the board's decision with that information, they would create the next piece of information, if that makes sense.
So I'm glad that we have more time to really dive into these issues, because I think these are big issues. They have huge countywide impacts, not just on our kids, but all kinds of issues wherever it's cited. I guess my question is, we have not as a board fully determined the path forward. We have not voted on the specific option yet that I can remember. And so I guess when is that going to come before us, as far as when are we going to have that discussion, I guess?
So my recommendation would be that the construction committee still has work to do in terms of determining, do they want to endorse option 1 or option 4? Option 1 is a new high school in one fell swoop takes care of everything. Option 4, or option 2 now, because we've narrowed it down to 2 choices. Option 1, new high school takes care of everything, and capacity for the future as well. Option 2 is a new high school, but a smaller one, and then adding capacity at Union Pines. We've looked at that several times. There are different amounts that it would cost for us to do that. I do know we've shared in open session as well as construction committee, the cost to add on to Union Pines is more substantial than it is to just build the new high school and then renovate the others. But you are right, Mr. Johnson, that needs to be done. We're functioning at this point off of the premise that it is one high school, because it's easy to back down the size of that high school, but it's not as easy to expand when we're looking at numbers that we're going to pull from areas. So that is work that needs to be done from the construction committee to bring to the whole board, and then the whole board needs to endorse, are we moving towards one high school that's going to solve it all, or are we looking at a smaller high school and then adding on to Union Pines as well? So that is left hanging out there.
Okay. Yeah, and I really look forward to that conversation. And one thing that strikes me about this is this kind of opportunity does not come around often. When was the last time we had meaningful high school modernization or building?
Early 1970s.
Early 1970s.
Was when
Right.
we built the last one. Now, we've
Yeah.
had some additions to all of the high schools.
Sure.
But in terms of a large project, Northmore
Right.
would have been the last. They added on about a $20 million addition.
Yep. Well, I just think that this is a really good opportunity to really think long-term about the high school, what it looks like. As someone who is really invested in innovation and what the future holds, I think we have some really smart people in this district that are high school principals like yourself, and also people that are in that innovative high school experience to kind of help envision, 50, 60 years down the line, what should that high school look like? And I just really am looking forward to that conversation and kind of diving into the nuts and bolts of how that turns into a facility that works really well. So it's exciting times, and I hope we get a huge community buy-in to really look at it and really get their input. I just think it's an exciting time for Moore County to be thinking about. So thank you.
All right, last update is on New Century Middle School lift station. The ongoing pump issues at New Century lift station have finally been resolved. The temporary pumps are no longer needed, so we should have no additional issues.
Great news. Great news. Dr. Dahl, did you have anything you wanted to say? I didn't want to.
I have all kinds of thoughts about the
Okay,
high school
okay.
question that
Yeah,
I think
get
I
your
need to
mic
hold
on.
until the construction committee meets. They're not
Okay.
really.
And yeah, so we've got a lot of work ahead, but it is exciting times. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patterson.
All right, let's see. Now we're at board committee reports and updates. And as far as I know, the safety committee was the only committee that has met recently. And we had a great committee meeting on February 17th. We have just continued conversations with our sheriff's department. We did move forward with the memorandum of understanding that we've had in place. We are using an opportunity for I've lost my word, but just not a draft, a pilot opportunity for our off-duty deputies to come in and help with 2 of our schools. We're going to collect data and find out more information about how it's working for them and for us. And then hopefully we'll have something to bring back about that experience. But we're so thankful to our sheriff's department, Chief Deputy Conway for participating with us, Chief Gooch, and all the other members of our committee. I did decide, and with approval from the safety committee, remove the word temporary. So we're going to be a standing safety committee. We think it's very important, so I appreciate the committee's vote on that. And that was pretty much it at that point, so thank you.
So I have a question on the on this pilot program.
Okay.
Speaking of pilot, I think I saw the headline in the pilot.
Oh,
I mean, and
okay.
I didn't read past the headline. I mean, I just saw the headline. I just throw this food out for thought. And I didn't, I got some questions on it, but here's a thought is, if we're testing 2 schools, a key thing, and if it's the same 2 schools, right? A key thing on counterterrorism is to not be predictable. And if we have, say, 10 schools unprotected, and I know we rotate the SROs in there, I would suggest this pilot program rotate between them. And I don't know the logistics, you said collect data and all, but, it's very important because if someone's planning an attack, it's very important they not know the security posture. And if you don't have enough assets to go around, you rotate them at, unpredictable times. So that would be my input to this pilot program is rotate them around so people don't observe patterns, if possible.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, could
Yes,
I
ma'am.
add something? Just want to share, also highlight Chief Gooch has a new officer who should be getting approved through the state, so that is awesome. Another one that I think is going to be in the pipeline coming soon, so he is making some great progress on recruiting folks, so we are very happy about that. Also, just wanted to share Union Pines Theater students are, under the direction of Chase Costin, are leaving tomorrow. They'll represent North Carolina at the Southeastern Theater Conference, so we wish them well and say good luck, break a leg. Thank you.
That's right. I did want to just remind everybody about our superintendent search that's going on. We had stakeholder meetings last week, and on the March 9th meeting next Monday, BWP is going to bring the stakeholder feedback and survey results in a report and the draft leadership profile for our approval. So we'll get that hopefully ahead of time. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Cindy's looking after that. April 1st is the application deadline. April 13th through 17th, within that window, that's when we'll have our interview protocol trainings. April 27th through the 30th, that's when we'll hopefully have our interviews with our candidates. And the goal is to announce the new superintendent on May 4th or 8th. So just keeping this in our thoughts so we won't forget that. All that's going on
Could you
in the
repeat
background
the
as well.
early April dates?
around April 13th through the 17th. So we'll give you more information in plenty of time, but I just thought it would help us to keep that in the forefront of our mind.
And I think it might be good on the 9th, as they do that, to just have that timeline brought up.
Okay, on the 9th? Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be good information.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Ms.
Just window,
Parker-
so maybe
Ms.
don't put
Parker
something
knows
on
the
there.
reality.
Okay. Sounds good.
Behind the scenes. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Right. So we might have a special call meeting just for the leadership profile talk and discussion. So just be prepared about that, and thank you for participating. So we're at board comments. Anyone want to share a comment today? We've had a great meeting. I have some. Okay. Mr. Mitchell,
I
you go
almost
first.
never have any.
Okay, you
I
go
have
first.
two. The first thing is, and this is just actually both these are ad hoc, but you know, I'm sitting here saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and I couldn't help but think when we say one nation under God in the Pledge of Allegiance that I am, it's kind of odd that there's a court ruling that school boards cannot say prayers in school meetings, and we can't say prayers in schools, yet we and our students each and every day, it's in our policy, they say the Pledge of Allegiance and they say one nation under God, and that's okay by the courts, but we can't have prayer, and that is just hypocritical. And the other thing I'd like to say is Ms. Purvis talked when she was introducing the budget. She talked about, developing students that are future leaders that come back and be leaders in our community. Saturday night, I finally made it up to the High Falls Fiddler Convention. I've been meaning to go to that for years, and it just never worked out. And what a great event. I've always found bluegrass mesmerizing. But the point is, going back to leaders coming back, that whole event, if everyone remembers, it almost got killed by Moore County Schools, not intentionally, but the school that was sponsoring it didn't want to do it. It almost went away. And a Moore County School graduate, Miss Miranda Smith, a Park Scholar, right? So a little bit about Miss Smith, Park Scholar. And if I remember correctly, you would know she fell in the gap where a previous school board eliminated valedictorians and salutatorians, and before we reinstated it, there was 1 year gap, and she fell in that gap where we had actually a Park Scholar going to NC State who we didn't recognize as a valedictorian because a previous school board did away with it. But anyway, this young lady continuing her, I assume she's still in high school, continuing her ties to the community. Her and a team of volunteers did a wonderful job putting that on in Northmore High School. But anyway, hats off to Miss Smith and her team of volunteers and everybody who put that on. It was a great event.
Yes, she fell in that crack. She sure did. Yep.
And her younger sister got it, if I remember correctly.
Correct. I was privileged to teach Miranda in first grade and then have her all the way through high school. So terrific lady, and yes, she's bringing that back, and the community's glad to have it.
It was a pretty full house. The auditorium was probably 3/4 full.
Do you remember what year was it? How many years do you remember?
3, maybe 4 now, maybe.
No. I mean, in total, it's
Since 1921. It's the second long. So the fiddlers are called conventions, right? Not contests. And if I understood the MC correctly, interesting fella. Since 1921, I bought a T-shirt, and it's the second longest running fiddler convention in the United States.
I thought it was, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, great tradition.
All right, put that down. We want to remember so we can go next year, okay?
I just had a couple, so I just wanted to follow up. Just there's so much excellence happening in the district. It's hard to say all the excellent things happening, but the Union Pines wrestling teams, boys and girls, shout them out. Was able to go to the Pinecrest show. It's theater season, so I'll be there often. Great show, and of course, make sure people go and see those middle school shows as well, because that's how they get developed so well. The ROTC group out at Union Pines, amazing. Jeff Hewitt just was inducted to the Hall of Fame, had that ceremony the other day, so I wanted to shout him out. Outstanding. And the last thing was just something that's been on my mind this weekend, just to kind of keep in mind. I've been thinking a lot about our students that are military connected, and so just keeping them in mind, because anytime there's any kind of military action happening, there's a lot of daily stress and anxiety that our kids are facing. And just keeping those kids in their thoughts and prayers, and just making sure that we're wrapping support around them in the coming weeks and months. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, anybody else? Dr. Dahl?
So I too was privileged to teach Miranda Smith, taught her chemistry. I wanted to share something that I found. Last month, Ms. Bruno highlighted some of the great things that the state of Mississippi is doing with their renewal of investments in public education. And I came across a quotation that came out of Mississippi. This is it's about public education. And their state legislature was considering a voucher program, which ultimately they rejected because they felt that they wanted to promote public education. And this quotation came out of that. Public education is not a consumer commodity. It is a public service, like roads, bridges, parks, libraries, and fire departments. Public schools exist to serve the entire community, not just the individuals who use them on a given day. Taxpayers support these services because they strengthen communities, promote safety and opportunity, and serve the common good, even if every resident does not directly or immediately benefit from every service. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Dr. Dahl. Anybody else? Okay.
I just want to welcome Jenny Purvis.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have you, Jenny.
Just, I wanted to give a shout out to our Career Technical Education Department, but the Career Expo was last week, and it was incredible. They even had NASA there. NASA was there, and all of our community supports. It was so enjoyable. The kids got a lot out of it. So just hats off to them. I've got the program with all of those businesses that were participating, and just thank you to Dr. Lisa Scott, Tana Lane, Wilson, Sherry Ivy, Eleni Pennington, Jennifer Patterson, Brittany Sanborn, and all of the teachers that did all the work, and the principals for making this possible. Thank you to our community. So with that being said, any other comments? All right, and we're at adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.